everyone, and welcome to another Create a Sim. Today's Create a Sim is a bit of a throwback because I try to recreate the Montoya family, who are from a series I did in The Sims 3 a while ago in The Sims 4. It just felt like now is the perfect time because we got island living recently, and while the series these Sims are from wasn't an island paradise Let's Play specifically, they did live in Isla Paradiso, so a lot of the content in that series was centered around that pack. We did explore some other stuff though, like one of the Sims went to university, we dabbled in some other things, and one of the Sims in the series was also a mermaid by the end of it, so I of course just had to recreate them now that we actually have mermaids in The Sims 4. And I'm also doing this because Techie74 left a comment on a recent video suggesting that I recreate them and add them into my island living Let's Play. We're not going to be playing with them, but they're just going to be put into the world in the background as Sims that we can potentially meet. So I think it'll be kind of fun to have that bit of a throwback to the past on my channel in that series. So who knows, maybe our Sims in the series will end up befriending them, or we'll at least spot them around town. I'm also going to be building a house for them. I've actually finished that. So the Speeble for that will be up this weekend. And I know some of you have requested that I rebuild the Montoya's house from The Sims 3 Let's Play, but I didn't end up doing that for the speed build just because the whole backstory, which I'll get to in a little bit, is that essentially they moved to Sulani, so it kind of wouldn't make sense to say that they moved and then to just rebuild their previous home in this new world. Plus I wanted to make something that fit into Sulani a little bit better, so I just decided to rebuild something new, but who knows, maybe down the road I'll try to recreate their Sims 3 home in The Sims 4. We'll see, because that's something I can actually possibly do now. But getting on to the actual creation of the Sims here, we are making Alex Montoya here, and some of you are probably looking at him and thinking, wasn't he old and gray at the end of the series? Why is he a bit younger here? The reason for that is that it was a bit of a fluke that he was even an elder at the end of the series, because with what I said about the background of the Sims and their ages, it really didn't make sense that he would have been that old. I got a new computer halfway through the series, so I think my aging settings got reset, and because of that he aged a little faster. But in case you haven't seen the series before, it's centered upon Alex here and his daughter Avalon, who he raised as a single father. At the beginning of the series, he was a young adult and she was a child. He had her very young. He was about 20 when she was born. And at the end of the series, she had just graduated from college, so she was around 22, 23. So at the end of the series, he should have been in his early, maybe mid-40s. So it just kind of wouldn't make sense that he was old, gray and hunched over as elderly Sims are in The Sims 4, or The Sims 3, early 40s is definitely not elderly. So yeah, it just didn't make sense to have him be that old. And these Sims I'm creating as they're supposed to be 5 years in the future after the series ended. So here he should be late 40s, maybe early 50s. So again, I feel like it still doesn't really make sense for him to be elder. So I just made him an adult and then gave him graying hair and then gave him the skin details that have deeper wrinkles just to show his age that way. And I will put a picture in here somewhere so you can see how he looked in The Sims 3. So you can kind of see the comparison between him here and him in The Sims 3. It was actually harder than I thought it would be to try to recreate Sims from The Sims 3 into The Sims 4, but I think I did a fairly good job of it. I was a little worried about how it was going to turn out first, but I actually had a lot of fun doing this, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I'll put a link somewhere in the description to the playlist for that series in case any of you want to check it out. It was started almost 4 years ago, which is crazy, but right now I'm picking out Alex's traits. So in The Sims 3, his traits were family-oriented, daredevil, handy, sailor, and loves to swim. So where I could, I was trying to give them the traits that were exactly the same as what they had in The Sims 3. So I of course gave him the family-oriented trait, and then I gave him child of the ocean to kind of go with the sailor and loves to swim thing. And then I gave him self-assured because I felt like he was always very confident, and I feel like in a way that went with the daredevil trait. And as you saw there just now, I did of course make him a merman because he did eat the mermatic kelp towards the end of the series and became a merman. So, obviously, since we have them now in The Sims 4, I had to create him as one. And right now, I'm making his daughter Avalon, and I also made her a mermaid as well. She wasn't one at the end of the series, but Alex did have a couple of the mermatic kelp in his inventory, and I kept an extra one because I was always thinking, maybe we'll have Avalon eat this, I'm not sure, and have her turn into a mermaid. I didn't end up doing that before the end of the series, but, this is supposed to be 5 years in the future. So I like the idea that during that time, she just ate some and decided to become a mermaid herself. And with Alex's tail color, I was also trying to have it be similar to what it was in The Sims 3 because in The Sims 3, I think it was it was like teal, purple, and maybe a little bit of green. So I found one here in The Sims 4 that was kind of like that. Avalon here was a bit trickier to recreate because they don't really have an accurate hair color to what she had in The Sims 3 here in The Sims 4, because in The Sims 3 she had this nice ginger hair color, but they don't really have that exactly in this game. They just have more of this orangey red kind of color, this one here, so I just gave her the closest color that I could. And then I also gave her this hair from Island Living because at the end of the series she had like a shorter bob that kind of came to her chin, but when she was younger she did have flowing kind of wavy red hair, so I thought this hairstyle worked with that. Like, she kind of grew it out to how it was when she was a bit younger. I think she would look closer to how she did in The Sims 3 if I did have the exact hair color, but like I said, this was the closest to what I have. And before I get further into things, I wanted to actually talk a bit about the backstory the backstory for the beginning of the Montoya series, just to give you all who hadn't seen that series a bit of background. So basically what started that series was that Alex had this one-night stand with this woman when he was around 19 or 20. Her name was Isabella. They met at a bar, one thing led to another, and they ended up hooking up. And a little down the road, she found out that she was pregnant, and she told him. And they hadn't really talked much since that first night, but they agreed that they would try to raise a kid together. So they were like, well, maybe a relationship would work between us. So they tried to make a relationship work while Isabella was pregnant. But they found that they weren't really compatible as a couple. They just argued all the time. Like, it did not work at all. So then they called that off, and then they thought, well, maybe we can still make, raising our daughter together work. We can, co-parent. So they were going to do that, but then as the pregnancy as her Avalon's birth got closer, Isabella started to get cold feet. She just, realized that she wasn't ready to be a mother. She also didn't want to raise a kid with someone she didn't see a future with, so she told him that she was planning to put Avalon up for adoption, that she just didn't want to raise her, and that hurt Alex a lot because even though he was very young and didn't think he was ready to be a father, he had actually become really excited about the idea of raising Avalon and was really looking forward to it. So he told her, no, don't put her up for adoption. I'll raise her. Even if I have to do it on my own, I really want to have her in my life and I really want to raise her. So Isabella kind of hung around a little bit after Avalon was born. Like, she visited here and there, but as time went on, she stopped visiting at all and kind of left their lives, and they didn't really talk to her anymore. And Alex was fine with that. He knew that was how things were going to be, and it was definitely tough being a young father, but he loved Avalon dearly and tried his best to give her, he tried his best as he could to give her a good life. And Isabella did actually come back into the picture later on because Avalon actually found her, because when Avalon was a teen, her and Alex had a bit of a rough patch where she was always really furious at her father, and he kept doing stuff that pissed her off, and then she kept doing stuff that pissed him off, so their relationship just wasn't really sour. So she just found her mother's contact information, found where she lived, because she was like, well, you suck as a parent, and, maybe my mom will actually be better. So it was a bit awkward at first, but they did eventually reconnect. And Alex and Isabella actually reconnected a bit towards the end of the series as well. Hopefully no one cares about spoilers for a Sims Let's Play that ended over 2 years ago, but the series literally ended with Alex making this grand romantic gesture, trying to rekindle a romantic relationship with Isabella. And I'm not making Isabella here in this creative sim because that didn't work out. Unfortunately, once the high of that gesture wore off, they realized that they were just as incompatible as they were in the past. Because before that, he was thinking, well, maybe it was the circumstances, maybe if they were different, things could have worked out between us. But no, it wasn't just that. They really weren't people who were meant to work out as a couple. But here I'm finishing up making Avalon. Her traits are dog person, ambitious, and child of the ocean. And her traits back in The Sims 3 were dog person, ambitious, sailor, and genius. And I forgot to write down the 5th trait that she had, but I think that's because that was one that I knew I couldn't even recreate in The Sims 4. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I thought those traits that I gave her were a good way to try to transfer her personality from The Sims 3 over here to The Sims 4. And then I gave her the nerd brain aspiration because in The Sims 3, she was always this jack of all trades. Art was her main jam. But she really liked to dabble in a lot of different stuff, so I thought that was a good aspiration to kind of go with that. I know there's the Renaissance Sim one, but I don't really want her to have to change up her jobs a whole bunch. But, I mean, that's another one that could have possibly worked out for her as well. Here I'm making Gustav Delvin, who is Avalon's husband, who she met when she went to France just after graduating from high school, she actually ran away because Alex did something that really pissed her off. So she ran away. Like, I think I said she took her college funds and used it to go on this trip to France. But she did end up getting a lot of scholarships, so she was still able to afford to go to college. But yeah, she went there. She met him. They had this fling, and then they didn't really talk for a while after that. Like, it was kind of hard to get in contact with him. She kept trying. And then, I could be wrong. Like, I didn't watch the whole series back over, so I don't remember everything. But I think she ended up going back to France, and then I think she reconnected with him, and then he ended up coming with her to Isla Paradiso, and they ended up getting engaged at the end of the series. So since then, in the past 5 years, they've gotten married, and they've also had a daughter, so I'm going to create her shortly as well. Because yeah, after she went to France, she went through this huge French phase in her life where her bedroom was decorated in this French-inspired style, and her outfits had this sort of French-inspired flair to them. So he is a part of that French phase in her life. And for his everyday wear, I gave him this shirt that looked a lot like that vest over a bun-up shirt that he had in The Sims 3, this one here. I wasn't going to do that originally, but then I was looking through the catalog and I found that, and I was like, okay, we have to, I mean, this is like what he had in The Sims 3, so we have got to give him this. And if you did play World Adventures, you've probably seen him before because he is a townie that came with France, so I'm sure some of you have seen him in your game. So hopefully he did a pretty good job of recreating with him. I found a website found a picture of him on the Sims wiki and was trying to use that. It was a little tough, but I think I got the general idea of him down pretty well. But as far as what they're doing in Sulani now, while they all loved Isla Paradiso, they wanted a slight change of scenery. They wanted to just kind of go somewhere else and, just try living in a new location, because Alex had lived in Isla Paradiso his whole life, so at Avalon. So they just wanted to explore a little bit more, even though I know Sulani isn't really that different than Isla Paradiso. So Alex did own a 5-star resort. He also owned a bunch of islands, so he sold all of those, sold the house they had, took all that money, and bought this pretty nice house in Sulani, because the house I made for them is kind of a mansion. It's a huge house. It's very luxurious, so they bought that. They're living a life of luxury here in Sulani. And perhaps they also knew that there are more fellow mer people in Sulani, so they wanted to connect with them as well, find more people that are like them. So that's kind of the gist of why they are here in Sulani. And I also imagine Alex, because he did sell all those other things in Isla Paradiso, I can kind of imagine him also maybe owning a restaurant or a store in Sulani, kind of continuing to be a bit of a businessman here as well. But I think I will just stick him in the business career, since, you can't upload a sim with a restaurant that they own. You can't really link the two together. But that's definitely what I see him doing. Now I'm creating their daughter Ariel, who is absolutely adorable, and she is a mermaid as well. There's no difference while they're toddlers or children, but once she ages up into a teenager, she will get her mermaid form. And for the end of the video, I also wanted to mention that these Sims are custom content free. Since these are the first Sims that I made for Island Living, I wanted them to be custom content free, just so they're a little bit easier to find and download. And while I love my custom content, I also like just making custom content free households from time to time, so I'll probably mix more of them in the future. And I'm actually kind of curious whether you all prefer households with custom content or no custom content. I mean, if you have an opinion on that, let me know in the comments, because that's something I've been wondering about. But I also recreated their dogs that they had back in The Sims 3, because I couldn't make this video and say, oh yeah, the dogs that they had died in the 5 years between where we left off and now. So here I'm creating Guppy, who is a Shiba Inu, and he is an elder because he's very old. Avalon got him as a birthday present when she aged up into a teen. So she would have been around 13 when she got him, and now she's, we'll say, 28. So he's around 15 years old, which is very elder for a dog, but I don't think it's unrealistic to say that he could still be alive. And then here I'm creating Ariel, who they got towards the end of the series. She was, I think, newly an adult dog. So she's not, she's maybe like 6 or 7 years old. And she was a mutt, so she's a little hard to recreate, but I did find a breed combination that got, ended up creating a dog that looked almost exactly like her. So she's a mix of a bull terrier and I don't remember what the other one was, but when I bred them together, I got something that looked almost exactly like her and was just perfect. So I'm glad that worked out well. But we're done with the creation of this household, so here I just have some pictures showing all their outfits so you can get a better look at them. And that's gonna be all for me, so if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching, and bye!